Whenever I feel stuck, uneasy, or unsure of my next step, I don't assume I lack intelligence or discipline. I assume I lack clarity, and clarity has a process. So, in this video, I want to break down the exact ways I personally gain clarity, especially when a decision feels emotionally charged or mentally foggy. I'm going to give you first a high level view, and then we're going to go down into each of them. So, the 7 sources of clarity for me are number one, emotional clarity. So, why am I actually feeling what I'm feeling? And what is this feeling? 2, downside and upside clarity. What's the worst case scenario? And what's the best case scenario? What can I do to mitigate for the worst case scenario and use the best case scenario as a tool to propel me towards what I need to get done? Then number 3 is external mirrors. So getting feedback from other people, conversations, and just getting other perspectives is very helpful for helping me get clarity on certain areas where I'm unable to reach that level of clarity on my own. The number 4 is cognitive offloading. So that's taking everything from your head and putting it on paper. And the reason you want that is because oftentimes when we have things stuck in our heads, they feel so big and so intangible. But once you put them down on paper, or if you prefer typing on the screen, although I do recommend writing by hand, you find that actually things aren't as big or as scary as they seemed when they were just floating in your head. You actually have something tangible written on paper that you can then use to help you with breaking down what the issue is and making decisions and taking steps as a result. Next, we have frameworks and mental models. So these are structured ways of thinking that many people who've gone before us have already thought through, which you can then leverage to help you with making better decisions. I'll give you a few examples. These are things like the one thing. So that is a framework where you ask yourself, what's the most important thing here? And then you focus on that. What's the thing that's going to move the lever as opposed to all the competing things that come along that seem important but may not be? Then there's also a framework like the 12-week year, which then tells you rather than looking at the whole year for setting your goals, focus on a few things and focus in terms of time for a particular period. That will help you make progress. And so if the issue was you weren't sure how to make progress, that could be a good tool for you. There are other mental frameworks to consider as well, which we can go into later. Then number 6 is teaching and articulation. So explaining things to people, and not just to yourself and not just imagining it, actually helps you realize where the gaps in your knowledge are, and then you can go and plug those gaps. They say the best way to learn something is to teach it to somebody, because it helps, first of all, solidify what you already know, but also point out the areas where you need to go and get more knowledge in order to solidify it. Also, when you speak to somebody and teach them about something, they can ask you questions that you may not have considered, and those questions will then encourage you or force you to go and find out more. So in that process of finding out more, you gain clarity on the subject that you're talking about. Then finally, we have action-based clarity, which is doing. For me, that is a big thing I'm looking to follow through on in this year. Not just spending time, analyzing things and understanding things, but actually taking action. Some things don't become clear until you take action. For example, if you need to go down a road, you may not know at what point to turn if you don't see that there are roads to turn into. So sometimes you do have to take that first step, or take the second and the third. Keep moving forward. And then as you do so, some things will become clearer. Your next steps will become clearer as a result. That was a quick overview on clarity. If you'd like more information on this, type clarity in the comments section, because for me, I'm trying to figure out what content will be very useful for people who I'm speaking to. So if clarity is something that could be very useful for you, let me know in the comments.
If you're listening to this and thinking, I know this makes sense, but I still feel stuck, you don't have to figure it out alone. I offer clarity calls where we walk through your specific situation, identify what's blocking you, and create a simple next step so you can move forward with confidence. The link is in the description if that sounds like what you need.
All right, I'll catch you in the next one.